The demon attacks the group with a water creation, but Virgo manages to protect everyone with her force barrier. The demon is surprised that she's strong enough to oppose him, and he decides to retreat. Kainiko recognizes the water magic used by the demon and recognizes him as Mercurious, the luminary of water. He explains how Mercurious' entire body is made up of water, which makes him immune to physical attacks. The other two high-ranking participants from the festival gets terrified at the thought of fighting one of the 7 luminaries and dips. Sei tells Kainiko that it would probably be better for the country to send their troops to the mountain instead, but Kainiko tells him that Mount Nipjorg is surrounded by a holy barrier that repels magical beasts and beast folks. Fortunately, the barrier will also keep the demons out, but they'll definitely try targeting it now that they know that the elixir exists. The rest of Sei's party shows up and offers their assistance. Kainiko recognizes them all as Sword Saint Friedrich, Gantz the mercenary, and Hawkeye. He's especially happy at seeing Friedrich again, and it turns out that Kainiko is actually his older brother. Kainiko learns from Friedrich about Sei being the hero and is honored to have him help out. Virgo also offers her assistance, and Kainiko proceeds to guide everyone over to Mount Nipjorg. We cut over to Libra and Karkinos, who have split up from the rest of Lefesu's party to search for Sagittarius. Someone suddenly calls out Libra and steps out from the shadows. Karkinos recognizes the guy from the hunting festival, but Libra sees through his disguise and identifies him as Sagittarius. He undoes his transformation and reveals himself as Sagittarius of the marksman from the 12 heavenly stars. Sagittarius tells Libra and Karkinos that he's currently working together with Leon the Lion of the 12 heavenly stars. Libra referred to Leon as the one who held no loyalty towards Lefesu and only worked for her to potentially find a chance to overthrow her. Libra asks Sagittarius why, and he brings up his species of the centaurs. Centaurs are half man and half horse, but are still treated as monsters. He asks Libra if she knows why, and Libra tells him it's because centaurs are not bipedal. Sagittarius tells Libra that Leon has gathered other creatures who were classified as monsters and has also reached level 1000. Leon plans to take over the world and give monsters more rights. Libra warns Sagittarius and tells him that he'll be forgiven if he returns to Lefesu. If he continues to follow Leon, however, then he will be seen as a threat and disposed of. Sagittarius apologizes, saying that he's already made his decision. He'll do anything for his people, even if it means becoming Lefesu's enemy. He attacks Libra with Cause Media, a bow gifted to him by Lefesu 200 years ago that can change the elements of spells casted by the wielder. Libra grabs Karkinos and uses him as a shield. She then retaliates by firing a volley of bullets, which Sagittarius manages to dodge. The battle continues, with Libra constantly dragging Karkinos around and using him as a shield. Sagittarius fires one last arrow and manages to disappear from the battlefield. Libra replays her footage and finds out that Sagittarius grabbed onto the arrow he fired and used it to escape. We cut back to the hero's party at Mount Nipjorg. Cruz is amazed by all the mana crystals inside the mountain, and Sei notes how it looks like a dungeon from an RPG. The hooded figure brings up a question and asks if the vice captain is alright since they're a gorilla beast folk who shouldn't be allowed through the barrier. Hawkeye points out the vice captain just looks like a gorilla, and the vice captain ends up sucker punching him in the face for that remark. The gang suddenly hears some noise, and Cruz yells at everyone to get behind him. A gush of water suddenly crashes towards the group, and Cruz manages to protect everyone with a barrier. Cruz infers that the demons must have broken through the barrier, and his barrier starts to break open. Virgo uses her skill Vendemiatrix, and the water all disappears. Virgo is relieved that the skill Parthenos had taught her worked, but Cruz ends up recognizing the skill as mana depletion, saying that it's a technique that can only be used by the goddess and those who were blessed by her. Cruz gets up to Virgo's face and tells her that not even the king of the winged folk are able to use mana depletion. The rest of the party pulls Cruz off, and Sei tells him to back off. The group continues forward, and Mercurious would keep sending water after them to no avail, as Virgo would keep intercepting the attack. The hooded figure notes how the hero is weak, but impressive. He turned out to be Ares, who Lefesu had entrusted to support Virgo. He thinks to how Virgo is similar to what he used to be like. someone who's surrounded by far stronger people, and ended up having no confidence. The other heavenly stars have all started out very strong, so none of them understands his feelings. Aries could easily defeat Mercurious, but he holds back since that won't be helping Virgo. The group finally reaches the summit where the elixir is held, and Aries smiles thinking about how his party had a ton of those elixirs at the Black-Winged Tomb, which are now all stored in their tower. The party reaches an empty room, where they've managed to corner Mercurious, who's holding the elixir. Say tells Mercurious to hand over the elixir, but Mercurious ignores him and asks Virgo for her identity. He notes how she managed to erase all of his magic, and that he won't allow someone that powerful to be left alive. Members of the party attacks Mercurious, but he easily repels all of them. Virgo manages to heal them back up instantly, much to his shock. Say then gets behind Mercurious and unleashes his hero skill Magic Break, which is an attack that directly targets someone's magic power. Mercurious manages to block the attack, and he sends Say flying back. Virgo, however, uses this opportunity to fly in and actually damage Mercurious. Cruz notes how they normally wouldn't stand a chance against a member of the 7 luminaries, but luckily the barrier is weakening Mercurious. Mercurious figures out the group's strategy. The front lines and the ones behind are buying time, while Virgo goes in to attack and heal, while Say would attack Mercurious with his hero skills. Although Say is only level 35, he's about as strong as Gantz, who's at level 82. Mercurious notes him as a threat that needs to be eliminated as soon as possible, but Virgo would keep protecting Say from his attacks. Mercurious is annoyed at Virgo constantly healing up any damage he deals to the group, but he's determined to win, as even dolls like the demons have things they want to protect. He thinks of Luna, and it's time to insert the tragic backstory for the villains that no one cares about. Mercurious seems to have known that demons were made up on magic and created to oppose humanity. He had always wondered what would happen once humanity has been destroyed, and he came to the conclusion that the demons will simply just vanish. But if they don't fight against humanity, then they'll vanish as well. Luna meets up with Mercurious, and he's surprised to see her having lighter skin and hair color. Luna blushes and tells him that it's just to disguise herself as a human. Mercurious sees through her lie, however, and figures out that Luna is simply trying to look more like Terra to get closer to him. Luna tells Mercurious that Terra is currently assembling all the luminaries, and she takes her leave. Mercurious grips his fist, noting to himself that Terra needs to explode. Mercurious meets with the Demon King and requests for him to use the key to the heavens on the demons. The Demon King is surprised that Mercurious knew he had the key and asks what he wants it for. Mercurious tells him that it's fine if he just saves Luna and offers to kill the guardian dragon of Dropner in exchange for Luna's safety. We cut back to the battle where Mercurious is at his limit. He's still determined to win, however, even if it means having to sell his soul to the goddess. Meanwhile, I'm over here wondering why he couldn't just destroy the elixir right now or use it on himself instead. A voice suddenly speaks out to him, asking if he wants more power. Mercurious recognizes the owner of the voice as the goddess, and he asks her to grant him strength. He suddenly starts emitting light, and Cruz is shocked that a demon is somehow using divine power. Mercurious begs Terra to take care of Luna, as his body becomes pure water. Aries suddenly takes off his disguise and intercepts the water. Gantz recognizes Aries from back when they met in Seoul, and Aries tells Virgo to go back to Lefesu. Virgo, however, begs Aries to help the others as well, but he's hesitant as the hero is supposed to be Lefesu's enemy. He gives in to Virgo's request and tells her to take the others and run. Aries is frustrated at the water constantly regenerating and decides it's time to go all out. Kainiko and Friedrich are scared of what's occurring on the mountain, but Say's party runs over to the duo with the elixir in their hands. Say thinks back to how Virgo had handed them the elixir before returning to the mountain, and he decides to return to the mountain as well. Gantz holds him back, however, as the group suddenly see Aries transformed, fighting with Mercurious. Gantz tells Say that the 12 heavenly stars are at least level 800, which are far stronger than the level 307 luminaries. Cruz suddenly starts freaking out, as the rest of the heavenly stars all transform as well. He thinks that they came here to fight Virgo, and he passes out at the sight of Lefesu, who's flying above the heavenly stars. The heavenly stars undo their transformation and bow to Lefesu. She recaps what happened, starting with the mountain randomly spitting out water and Ares transforming. The others saw what happened and followed suit. Lefesu suddenly notices the hero's party looking all terrified. She's then surprised at Sei stepping forward, as he goes up to Lefesu and asks to have a chat. Lefesu is intrigued by Sei's bravery, and she accepts Sei's request. Sei first asks Lefesu if she's planning on doing anything to the country of Dropner, and she answers that she's only in the country to train up her subordinate. Sei realizes that Virgo is her subordinate as he saw her hanging around Lefesu's group earlier, and he tells Lefesu that she's currently fighting with one of the 7 luminaries. Sei's ashamed that he had to leave her to fight alone, and he asks Lefesu to help them. Lefesu agrees with no hesitation, surprising Sei. He realizes that the legends of Lefesu were blown out of proportion, but he immediately takes back that statement upon seeing her easily take out some of the water attacks from Mercurious. However, it turns out that Lefesu is actually extremely glad to be on positive terms with Sei, since the goddess could easily boost his strength to an immense level due to him being the hero. Lefesu greets Gantz, who had realized that she was actually the Sufala girl she met back in Suval. Hawkeye finds Lefesu to be familiar, so she tells Dina to remove the memory manipulation on Jean. Wait, his name is Jean? The group of adventurers introduce themselves as a warrior class and the leader Jean, a light warrior Nick, a heavy warrior Richard, and an archer Shu. Now make sure you jot down these names, because they're not going to be important at all.
End of flashback.
Well, we're still going to be calling him Hawkeye, because it sounds cooler. Anyways, with the memory manipulation removed, Hawkeye suddenly regains all of his memories of what occurred back in Lefesu's tomb. Lefesu tells the rest of the group to follow her to go help Virgo, as she picks up Sei and flies off with the rest of the group levitating behind her. Virgo and Ares are still fighting Mercurious when Lefesu and the others arrive. Ares undoes his transformation and apologizes to Lefesu for being unable to win. Lefesu thinks to how both she and Ego Karos are able to easily end the battle, but she decides to use this opportunity to give Virgo the glory instead. She uses her skill Esper and condenses all the water into a small crystal that Cruz identifies as the legendary Mana Diamond. Lefesu tells Virgo to finish it off, and Virgo uses her skill Vendemiatrix to destroy the diamond and causing Cruz to lose his mind. Lefesu praises Virgo and pats her on the head, which makes her very happy. Meanwhile, back at the Demon King's castle, the Demon King thinks to the recent events with Mercurious. It turns out that everything was actually set up by him, as someone suddenly asks him if something was bothering him. It turned out to be Dina, and the Demon King thinks back to Mercurious's determination to save Luna and asks Dina if the demons really were just dolls. Dina affirms that they are, and they'll always be dolls to be used and discarded, even if they could grow feelings for others. The Demon King then asks if he'll be discarded as well, and Dina answers that perhaps he already has been. The news of Mercurious's death reaches Luna, as she hugs Terra while crying upon hearing the news. Back at Dropner, Sei explains how the kingdom had rewarded them for the defeat of Mercurious and recovery of the elixir. Sei adds that he was summoned by the Emperor and was almost married off to his daughter. The group and Virgo are now currently heading to the location of the Guardian Dragon. Kainiko finally leads them to the location, but the group becomes horrified at the sight of the Guardian Dragon laying dead on the ground. Kainiko becomes enraged, demanding to know who did such a thing. The perpetrators stood on top of its corpse, and Kainiko demands them to get away from the dragon and calls them monsters. The group confirms that they are indeed monsters, as they're revealed to be a group of demihumans. The insect demihuman asks how they're meant to be different from the humans. They want to negotiate, as they are all able to communicate with words and should be considered no different than the humans. Sei actually finds himself agreeing with the demihuman, but Kainiko interjects, calling them all monsters and denouncing the idea of negotiation. The demihumans become enraged upon being called monsters, as they all declare their loyalty to Leon. Cruz freaks out upon hearing that name, and he explains to Sei that Leon the Lion is a member of the 12 heavenly stars. He was also once one of the 4 strongest beings who kept balance in the world before the rise of Lefesu, and is the strongest member of the 12 heavenly stars. The plant demihuman corrects Cruz, saying that Leon had already left the 12 heavenly stars long ago and has got back to level 1000, giving him the ability to destroy all of humanity and the demons. The demihumans then charge at the group and struck down Kainiko. Friedrich charges in to attack, but his attack is blocked by the insect demihuman. The plant demihuman laughs at how weak Friedrich is and knocks him aside. Sei is shocked, as Friedrich is supposed to be humanity's strongest sword saint. Although Friedrich is at level 120, the other demihumans all turn out to be stronger. The group is all taken out except for Virgo. The snake folk notes that Virgo is significantly higher level than the others. However, she's lacking in experience. She grabs Virgo by the leg, and the merman goes in and struck her down. Sei catches Virgo before she hits the ground, and the snake folk unleashes her aqua blast attack on the duo. Sei shuts his eyes, but he gets surprised at a sudden harpoon that saved them from the attack. The owner turned out to be a battered-up Castor, as he stood in front of the duo. The insect folk notes that Castor is strong, but the plant folk and merman are confident that they can beat him since he's already very beaten up. They all charge at him, and Castor unleashes his skill ptarmigan and strikes down the entire group. The insect folk tells the group to retreat, since they've already completed their objective. The plant folk summons some wind and carries all the demihumans away. Virgo then uses high healing on the guardian dragon, but it had no effect. Kainiko suggests using every single drop of the elixir, but Sei is hesitant as he had originally wanted to use it to help heal Migrez's legs. He then thinks back to what his dad had said in the past and decides to use up all of the elixir on the dragon. However, it still ended up having no effect, and Cruz explains that the elixir would only work on living beings. Kainiko pleads with Virgo to help since she is acquainted with Lefesu. However, Virgo apologizes for not being to help as she's the weakest among Lefesu's group. Castor asks Virgo if she knows Lefesu. Virgo said she does, and Castor smiles. He takes out a potion and uses it on the guardian dragon. He explains that it's called Amrita, a potion that can revive someone after death. The dragon is revived, and Kainiko cries out tears of joy and thanks Castor for his help. Castor then introduces himself as one of the twins from the 12 heavenly stars, which surprises everyone except for Virgo. The guardian dragon suddenly lets out a loud roar and stands up strongly. Castor reunites with Lefesu, and she's curious as to why he's not with his fairy sibling as opposed to the games where they were always together. Castor of the twins from the 12 heavenly stars joins the party, and all of his stats are displayed on screen. Lefesu asks Castor why he's so worn out, and Castor kneels down and apologizes for losing the key to the heavens to the Demon King. Lefesu, however, has no idea what that even is, and tells Dina to heal up Castor's wounds. Meanwhile, the rest of the heavenly stars are discussing the current situation with Leon and Sagittarius. They're not surprised by Leon's actions, but they are confused as to why someone like Sagittarius would be assisting Leon. Lefesu decides that her next objective is to retrieve Sagittarius and Leon, as the rest of the heroes' party suddenly arrive. Lefesu tells Sei that she needs to stop Leon as she's responsible for her subordinates' actions. Both Gantz and Hawkeye offers to help, but Lefesu has doubts since she's not sure if they'd even survive the shockwaves caused from her battle with Leon. Dina informs Lefesu that Leon's base is most likely located in Turfing. Dina explains to Lefesu that Turfing is located in the most dangerous area inside the human territory, as it's located right next to the demon territory. Sagittarius's hometown of Kentoros is also located inside of Turfing. Lefesu tells Sei to leave Leon to her, and that Sei should go over to Kentoros and investigate. The group splits up, with Lefesu and the heavenly stars headed to Turfing while the heroes' party along with Virgo and Castor would be heading towards Kentoros. Meanwhile, in the vampire country of Mjolnir, a vampire girl senses Lefesu's presence. She is determined to finally kill Lefesu this time. She's revealed to be Bennett Nash, a level 1000 vampire princess with the life goal of killing Lefesu, and the final member of the 7 heroes that are currently alive.